We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. What in God's name is going on with Bitcoin? I will answer that question. What's going on with XRP? Well, that's obvious, but I will answer that question too. What's going on with altcoins like Solana and Ethereum, or what is about to go on with those coins? I will answer that question too. Okay, let's start with Bitcoin. This is actually somewhat complicated. The first thing that no one is talking about is that the person who is like market buying Bitcoin is a government, a sovereign. Could be our government because they need a distraction. That's easy. I've said that for a week and a half. Could also be the Japanese government or some giant player like an insurance company or some, like I said, some huge entity, maybe a central bank. No one has talked about this. You know, it would be something else if the orange man came out and said, hey, guess what? We bought a bunch of Bitcoin. Because you know what? He is getting extremely bold with tariffs, right? The last time he talked like this on tariffs, the stock market crashed and everyone thought it was going to be a recession. Now he's emboldened on the tariffs and just keeps slapping them on everybody. No one cares. No one cares. That technically is money for the sovereign wealth fund. So who knows? It could be a sovereign. Now, it could also be Michael Saylor, obviously, right? Market makers, he put an order in and they didn't have the inventory. So they had a market buy it. That's simple, right? It's like, you know, every time they knock the market down, you find out that Michael Saylor bought it at like the previous mini local high. Well, guess what? There was no way for them to knock the market down. Now, there's another thing which, you know, is slightly complicated in that people who were bullish in TradFi and owned Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ETF did something called overwriting. So you own the underlying instrument and you short a bullish derivatives instrument, hoping that either Bitcoin sits still or when it goes up gradually. Well, guess what? Everybody was short the bullish bets at 120 because these things have what are called strike prices and they have dates where they expire. So believe it or not, the guys that were bullish were also shortish. That's the way I put it. And of course, when Bitcoin was moving over a weekend, they all panicked, which is why it just melted through 120. Just absolutely melted through 120. Now, most likely, in any of these scenarios, the TradFi Bitcoin short squeeze will probably end an hour or two after the ETF opens. In other words, there'll be all this ETF trading, all this options trading. Everybody will square up their books. And then my guess is there's some kind of a dip. The only way they wouldn't be a dip is if it was a sovereign, if it's a government in here just taking everything. It is crypto week after all. So after TradFi gets done covering their shorts, you should get a dip. Now, when Bitcoin dips, you have to realize that there's now like $12,000 a coin in profits that can roll into alts. You know, Ripple has a partnership with Bank of America. I can't even understand why Ripple is still at 3. I mean, I know it's a big cap coin, but it really should be at 5. You know, Nvidia can move in the tens of billions or hundreds of billions in market cap. I don't understand why XRP can't do the same. Like everyone is sleeping on XRP, Ethereum, and Solana the way they were sleeping on Bitcoin. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do it later, and then just see it. Like the dip in XRP, Solana, and Ethereum is when it's not really moving, which is right now, right? And Ethereum is a joke. I got an article here that hedge funds are shorting it. It's insane what's going on in crypto. And no altcoin has really rallied. I mean, Sui's done okay. Stellar and some of these American-made cryptos went parabolic, Hedera, stuff like that. This market hasn't moved. What are you talking about? This isn't what we saw at Christmas. This isn't what we saw in the fourth quarter of 2023. It's not even close. It's not even close. Had a huge Bitcoin rally, but Solana's at 160. Solana should be at 250. And it can just go there, right? I mean, you have this like whole American-made crypto thing, and this market has done nothing for 6 months. And as I have said repeatedly, why was the market down again? Why was it down? Because the government didn't moon your bags? Well, the government's about to moon your bags with like irresponsible spending. Japanese could be buying Bitcoin. No, you're going to find out why Metaplanet is buying Bitcoin, because the Japanese government bond market is literally crashing. All government bond markets are crashing. Right? It's happening right before our eyes. So people like FOMO in, and then somebody might decide that they want Web3. And Web3 is dirt cheap. I mean, Web3 actually might break out above $1 trillion, like total 3 might break out and go to $1 trillion. Now, let's go on the flip side. You want to drink some Kool-Aid? Let's drink some Kool-Aid. So I don't know what's going on in Bitcoin. There's not that many choices, right? Governments, corporations, Michael Saylor, short sellers blown out. Those are the choices. Now, what happens if this thing turns into a mania? I got a chart that says, okay, maybe we're done at 123. But if we're not, then I think people are going to have to face the fact that Bitcoin is still Bitcoin and can move higher. Everybody was convinced that it was a stock and blah, 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 blah. No. Okay. Bitcoin gets loose. Bitcoin can just go. Now, that doesn't seem to be the case because I think this is driven by short covering. However, this goes back to altcoins. I mean, what is going to happen to altcoins if Bitcoin just blows through, right? There's no dip. It sits there, and then somebody says something at this crypto week, and it just goes, right? Now, I don't know that you want to FOMO in. I'm pretty sure you don't into Bitcoin, but I don't really have a problem with FOMOing into larger altcoins. I don't, because they're not up. They're not up at all. Okay. So let's welcome who's here. We have Tyler, Ben, Miguel, Roby, SG, the original, Warmon, right? David, Pengu. Don't let me forget to do Pengu. Javier is here. Drake, Thomas, David. Yav is here. Good morning, Kevin. What's up? Okay. So let's continue on. Let's continue on. Okay, stock market people are talking about something I mentioned earlier. The orange man is just slapping people with tariffs, right? If the stock market doesn't go down, he's just going to keep slapping the tariffs on. And he's getting more emboldened on the subject. Now, these type of things can seem inconsequential, but when nations start building these like acrimonious rivalries, this is one where Ray Dalio could actually be right, where, it can lead to stuff like conflict. He's moving a whole bunch of stuff over to Eastern Europe, and I just don't blame anybody who's just like totally done with this, right? They're not telling the truth on some things. They're not keeping their promises. In fact, they're going beyond what the last administration did. So everyone's just like, okay, I'm buying Bitcoin. That's it. Bye. Have a nice day. Like I said, Japanese government collapsing. Metaplanet bought another like 800 Bitcoin. All of the mainstream newspapers like Bloomberg still have tariffs as the front page. Like the front cover is like tariffs and like, oh, Bitcoin blows through 120, by the way. Still talking about law enforcement issues and all this stuff. I have a feeling that once they pass the stablecoin bill, this thing, the altcoins are going to go to the moon. Okay, so the stablecoin bill is supposed to pass the House. you know, they're calling the Bitcoin move a classic vacuum move, meaning there was just no seller, right? I told you there was no seller last week. There's no seller. You think there's no seller in Bitcoin? That's where all the liquidity is. There's definitely no seller in altcoins. You know, more reasons to buy Bitcoin is supposedly, you know, economic advisors are telling the orange man that he can fire Jerome Powell. Honestly, at this point, he doesn't need to fire Jerome Powell. What he needs is the distraction. It's funny. Complaining about Jerome Powell is a distraction compared to this other law enforcement issue. Yeah. I saw the guy from the FBI come out and say, you know, I'm standing by my conviction that this is a nothing burger, whatever. They need a distraction because that's not going away, right? It goes away, you know, it goes away with a monster crypto rally. Trust me, it goes away. You know, an orange man is just taking it on the chin. As I mean, he went to some soccer stadium and they booed him when they showed him on the TV screen at some big soccer game. The orange man likes to be popular. That's what my co-host Toby always says. He likes to be popular. Well, he ain't popular now. And, you know, he wants to get popular. He can buy Bitcoin. And here's an unbelievable headline. So they're shorting Ethereum. All this volume in Ethereum futures is hedge funds catching a 9% yield somehow by shorting Ethereum. Okay, well, we'll see how that works out. BlackRock buying Ethereum and hedge funds shorting it. That always turns out well. You don't have to know the history of Wall Street. Just trust me, that never turns out good. Never for the hedge funds. When BlackRock, when a huge player is buying and they're shorting it, no. MicroStrategy versus Bitcoin. That's going to be a real interesting open this morning. You got characters who are bullish and shortish. And then you got all these characters short MicroStrategy. Now, they are long Bitcoin against it, so I guess it's okay. But they may go to unwind that. They may have to unwind it because MicroStrategy could gap. Right? People may look at MicroStrategy and be like, well, Bitcoin's up a lot. Let's buy MicroStrategy. These hedge funds are going to get destroyed. They are going to get destroyed. Look at this. Now, all right, so this is Peter Schiff, the gold guy who does a lot of engagement farming on Twitter. I need to do some engagement farming. I need to find an issue that makes everyone upset and just press their buttons every 2 days. So Bitcoin's going to get another 100K, and I will say this. Partying with the lampshade on your head and victory laps is not constructive. It's not, right? When you start seeing stuff like this, it's scary. It's a little scary. Just a little. It's a little scary for Bitcoin. It's definitely not scary for altcoins. My God. Okay. The small country of Bhutan quietly taking profits. They got 1.4 billion in reserves. Okay. 1.4 billion in reserves. And they're like, you know what? We're going to take our money. Okay. Because remember, it is the summer. And if it's not a sovereign, the bid should switch to altcoins. Okay. Bitcoin could consolidate. Dealers square up their books. All kinds of stuff like that, right? Okay, so the Bank of England doesn't want stable coins. Okay. Risks to financial stability, really. That's kind of funny with a guy who was around for 2008. Okay. And and of course, just as a brief interruption, breaking news from the Eagle King. Uncle Mike buys more Bitcoin. Wow, he got filled at 112. Dealers couldn't get it back. They needed their inventory back. Mike bought it at 112 and it exploded. He emptied out their inventory and they couldn't reload. Boom. Done. It's as simple as that. Short Bitcoin if you hate money. Mike's just giving them the business now. Okay, so like, there's all kinds of TA stuff going on with like Bitcoin breaking trend lines. I have a slightly different view. So this is a Gann fan structure that I drew. It's worked nicely. Like it rallied up here. These are static lines, right? You just draw them and see how the market, the word is vibrates in the Gann world. So it goes up and then it comes back down and presses through the line. And then it goes up to the next line. That's 122. I will say one of the reasons why you would think this either could be a sovereign or somebody was short is because the premium zone was at 114. And then this, Lux Algo had to reset itself. And I've never seen this before. Right. And most likely Saylor was buying like mid last week. Right. He just cleaned everybody out. All right. Hit the wrong button on that. By the way, Bonk and all these meme coins are back, I think, because it's not just about Bitcoin anymore. Essentially, what's going on is corporations who have missed Bitcoin. So basically, if you've missed Bitcoin now, you're an idiot, right? Yeah, you had 3 chances to get in, like 70, 80. Then you had 100. Then you had 77 again. Crazy, right? And then what are you going to do? Go to your boss and say, I think we should pay 120? No. They're going to go to altcoins. I think they're going to go to Solana and XRP. XRP, I think, is obvious headed into crypto week. It's obvious. Okay, let's just go to Bitcoin. No, this is ETH. Okay. So, interesting point. There's no sign of this slowing down. This could have 2 or 3 more days easily, right? Before this thing chills out. If you look at the 4-hour chart on Bitcoin. Okay. So again, it should chill out. If it goes down and it holds and there's no downdraft, then it's just going to go up for 2 or 3 more days. I don't even know where it can go, but somebody is either FOMOing in like a government or someone is short. Somebody sold a bunch of bullish bets and they're caught. Now, one thing about the bullish bets that people don't realize is that the higher it goes, the more they have to buy. It's called a gamma squeeze. And I understand all this options terminology is ununderstandable. But what you have to know is that if it goes through these Gann numbers, right? These technical points, like when you're going through technical points like they're not there, either somebody is FOMOing in, like the Japanese, out of necessity, or somebody is short, or both. This is Bitcoin Weekly. 119 is a big deal. I would guess that after the shorts get done covering, you would have like it would just kind of go back to 119 as all that money shifts into altcoins. I mean, there's 177 in Solana. These altcoin markets look hesitant to me. And then there's the idea that I've been floating that the monthly level at 180 is now a tactical level. Sometimes you can trade tactically off a long-term chart. Not often. But this thing takes out 180 after all this hesitation and all these gymnastics. Dude, it's going to go, man. It's just going to go. I have no idea why Solana is down here. None. Okay, XRP weekly. We talked about this. What do we got here? We got blue sky. We got nothing. And this move just started. And you want to laugh? This was supposed to be the dip week. That's funny, right? Okay, so XRP, here's the deal with DeMark, right? This was supposed to be your pause. You're supposed to get some sort of counter trend rally here. I'm sorry, some sort of counter trend decline. You know, let's go to a 90-minute chart. Okay, so this is a 13 top on the 90-minute chart. You should get some kind of a dip. If you don't, it's going to $4. I believe it or not, as bullish as I am on things like Solana, I don't think you have to FOMO in today. That's risky. I don't think you have to FOMO in today. Let the legacy markets open up. Let all these shorts cover, and then let's see if there's a bid underneath it after the shorts cover. Because somebody is definitely short here. And I'm not talking about this nincompoop derivatives, Binance casino stuff. I'm talking about like the legacy options market for this gigantic Bitcoin ETF. So, and futures too. Somebody is caught. Someone's going to blow up, I think, over this. Okay, ETH. Like I said, all these things look the same. There's nothing there to stop this stuff, right? Now, that said, this is a 13 and a 9 top in ETH, which could mean, like I said, it could chill out for a day. You could get some sort of vacuum flush lower after all the shorts cover. Because when futures open, all these hedge fund shorts, they're done. They're blown out. So, I'm guessing there's some kind of dip. Now, I know we wanted to look at, I'm going to call it up here. I know we wanted to look at Pengu, right? These meme coins that do something like Bonk, Pengu. How long do you think it's going to take before Walmart and all these characters start getting crypto on their books by accepting it for like back to school? I mean, it was a classic cup and handle, so I got that right? And it's just a reminder, right? Like the energy that this had in the beginning, it still has it. Still has it. Now, that said, I mean, Pengu has retraced 62% of its down move. What does that mean? Well, I don't know that you have to FOMO in right this second. Right. In other words, buying what's up may not make sense for a day or two. So everyone's going to ask me, when's the dip? The dip is if it sits still. That's the new dip. The actual dip was the last 6 months. That was the dip. Right. Going short on July 13th. This has been a psyop from the beginning. It's got to be something that dealers created to try to get people to sell out their crypto or get short. It's crazy. Absolutely, absolutely crazy. Deleted his account. Yeah, because they don't need the psyop anymore. You know why? Because there's no more Bitcoin. It's gone. It's gone, right? And then, if you go over here, you start looking at the Solana universe, right? You start looking at what's going on with Bonk. I kind of had Bonk and I thought it was crazy earlier this year. Money flow in some of these coins is just starting to go green. And I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing people are going to care about resistance because of how vertical it is. But again, if it hits resistance and it doesn't go down, then it's going up. Like, it's funny, Bitcoin dominance, unless my chart's broken, didn't really go anywhere. I mean, Bitcoin did well, but so did everybody else. DGen, new social media? New social media, anyone? New everything, anyone? There's a lot of GAN work that points to like new forms of communication and things like that. By the way, Bitcoin Cash was the leader of this move. Remember I said that there was this mysterious move in Bitcoin Cash and no one knew what that was about? Well, I don't know. Guess they knew something. Guess they knew this thing was going to go vertical. Maybe they bought Bitcoin Cash, the dealers, because they knew they weren't going to be able to buy Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin Cash did nothing but go up. Retail has not discovered Litecoin. I would imagine they will. You know, Bitcoin Cash is going to underperform because it outperformed on the way up. But this was the telltale, right? Accumulation cone, break out the top. I mean, currently it's at resistance. There's no reason to buy this right now. I mean, I honestly think, I mean, you know, you're not going to get a dip in altcoins. You might get a dip in Bitcoin, but like I have no idea why altcoins would go down. I mean, Algorand is at resistance here. Like, you know, okay, I get it. But my attitude about resistance in general is everyone was telling me about the 200-day moving average. Who cares? Everybody's going to tell me about, you know, I don't know, whatever uptick there was here before it collapsed. You know, I know there's the Luxalgo premium zone, but if the Luxalgo premium zone didn't matter in Bitcoin, you know, why is it going to matter now? I mean, I'm respecting the premium zone, but people are using this. Bag holders are trying to get out. Bag holders are using this to get out. And they can do that. But if they get out and it doesn't go down, then you're going to have serious FOMO coming back in because, you know, there's all this money flooding into the digital asset hedge funds, right? The digital asset fund flows hit 3.7 billion last week. That was before this whole thing went parabolic. What is going to happen here when Solana hits $200? Forget about it. Now, is that going to happen now? I don't know. You could get Solana up at 180, 190 for sure. Because at some point, Bitcoin's going to chill out when the shorts get covered, right? And also, you know, people can stay short and stop buying, right? It's not that they're short, it's that they're long, but they have these derivative bets that they do so they can say, well, you know, I made 3% yield this month. Okay, bro. Well, you just lost more than that. So sometimes the shorts just chill. There's a way to chill. There's a way to say, all right, this bet didn't work. I'll just put on a new bet that it doesn't go through 130. So that process can push the market into an equilibrium. We'll see. But here's the larger point. Don't play around with this stuff, right? You got a confined space to make money. Like there could be like a couple different sprints here, especially since you have a thin market. Like first it'll be Bitcoin, and then, you know, these altcoins could rampage for like a month or more, right? Because they've been down all year, and I have no idea why. I have no idea why. The whole thing could just unwind itself. I know I've said that like 4 times, but it's true, right? I mean, you know, like where was Solana at the high, 220? Where was ETH, 4,000? Everyone's like, oh, ETH's at 3,000. I can't buy it. Let's short it. What? What are you talking about? Okay, so that is the market update for today. Stay strong. We will see you tomorrow.